Hey, it's Saturday and we finished up another week at the lot here, and we've made some progress with the build, but we've also ran into some issues. And part of my reason for doing these videos is to educate people as I learn along the way. And I'm not going to hold back with some of the bad things that happen on this build, because those are opportunities to learn, in my opinion. So I want to pass those along. We've made a lot of progress, but we've also hit a couple of snags. I've used some contractors for the concrete, and if you've been following along, we've had to change the foundation on the house from a slab to a crawl space due to the soil bearing test coming back not favorable. So that started a chain of events that I think led to some of these errors. So I'm going to show you what I've done today, and I'm also going to show you the issues and point out some things that if you're going to try to do a build on your own, or at least manage the project and have contractors come in and work for you, these are some things to watch out for. So let's have at it. Okay, I'm gonna start off with the garage and point out some issues that we've ran into. And one of those issues, if you remember in some earlier videos, there was dirt mounded up inside the garage. Yeah, that's not good, because that all had to come back out. And with the rebar already up, I couldn't get my tractor in there, so I had to manual labor, shovel all that stuff out. So that was the contractor not thinking, and when I came and seen it, it was too late because the trenches were already dug. So I'm gonna take the blame on that, but should have known better. The other issue that came into play is the contractor I used for the footers specialized in slabs and really wasn't, in my opinion, experienced enough to do footers properly. So you can see we've ran a chalk line, and this rebar, what'll happen is this is going to run into my slab. These will eventually get bent over and the slab will be poured over them, but some of them are really close to the edge. And also, if you notice, the edge of the footer, the edge of the stem wall, which is where my string line is here, is not really centered on the slab. This is going to be an 8-inch wide wall, so it could have been moved in just a little bit. And the corners are the real telltale sign. The corners were not dug out quite enough. They should have been dug back a little bit. If you can see right here is the corner of my wall, so I don't have much room here from the edge of the footer. So this should have been in here a little further and more centered on the footer. And again, that was a mistake from the contractor. They took their string lines down, so I had to put these string lines back up, and that took me about a full day to get those back up and get them to where they needed to be on the footers. So what I did was I plumb bobbed down from my corner here and was able to get a mark on the footer, snapped a line, and I have some video later on. I'll show you guys installing the pins, basically just some Tapcon screws in the corners. So if these batter boards do ever come back down, it's real easy, or I guess easier, to find the corners and get the batter boards back up and the string lines back up. So the other thing I had to do was shoot with my laser all of the batter board corners. Those all are the same height, because my string lines are going to be the top of my, in this case for the garage, the top of my slab. So the slab and the stem wall is all going to be done in one pour. It's just going to be a slab. They call it a slab with a turn down around the edge. So that'll be done. I did find a contractor too, by the way, to do the walls. He's a commercial guy, so he's a little more expensive than what I wanted to pay. So we're going to be a little over budget on the foundation, but this needs to be good and it needs to be done right. So we're we're gonna go with it, and he can get me in a relatively short time frame. So that was a bonus. Okay, errors that we found in here. So there is a tile under here somewhere. I dug this area out, could not find it. I dug that area out over there, could not find it. I could have swore it was put in there, but I couldn't find it. So I think what we're gonna end up doing is just running a drain tile on top of this to go out. So if I do get any water in my crawl space ever, which I don't think will ever happen, it has a way to drain out. The other thing that was an issue, again, we had dirt mounds and rocks and stuff that all had to be taken out. So that was manual labor by myself to get that out. And the other thing was, and I've already cleaned it up, but this concrete was just very sloppy. And I had concrete all the way out here that had spilled over, and they were just getting it out of the way to get the footer level, and it just looked ugly. We had the same thing on the back corner. Now over here, what we run into with the chalk lines, you can see my chalk line down here. This rebar is right on the edge of it. Some of them are actually outside the outer wall, and my chalk line has disappeared, but these up here are a good example. You can see this is not in line with the other ones. That will have to be cut off and a new one put in place in line with the other ones, and we're going to drill those in and epoxy them in so that will be a non-issue when they set their forms up. The other issue, as you can see, some of these the spacing on some of these is not the same. They just wet set these in and didn't measure real well. So some of these are more than 12 inches apart, and by my blueprints, these need to be closer. So what we'll have to do is, again, drill a hole, epoxy, and drop some rebar in there to get another string vertically up. So we have to do that in several places. So again, just errors on the contractor's part that did the footers. I'm just not real happy with it, but it is what it is now, so we have to deal with it. And this next guy coming in will hopefully make it right. It's just going to cost me a little more money. that's how I'm pinning my corners. That way, in case the batter boards come down or my string lines come down when we do a little excavation, because some of these side walls, there's not enough room to get the concrete forms in for the walls. So those are going to have to be excavated back. And I'm worried about the batter boards coming down. So all my corners are pinned now. So if something happens, we can relatively quick and easy get the string lines back up and get our corners remarked. So that's how I'm doing it. Don't know if that's typical, but gives me a little peace of mind in case something happens down the road. The last item is these piers. Not happy with them. They were dug out with an improper tool. It's kind of hard to explain, but what we're going to do is come back in with a 24-inch auger, get a round hole, set a sonotube in there, and pour my footings for my piers. So there's 15 of those. So again, I had to pay for this to be done. It's not good enough, so now I have to pay for another guy to come in. I'm not happy with it, so another guy's going to come in and make it right. So again, a little bit of money lost out of that. What that amount is, I don't know, but I'm gonna guess probably $2,000 to $3,000 that I've paid for that we kind of have to redo in a way. So next video after we get well, I guess it won't be the next video. We're a couple of videos away from another budget and cost analysis, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so those are the issues that need to be redone, things that I missed, things that my contractor that installed the footers missed, and you know, in the end it just adds cost to the build. So I think it's pretty minimal in the whole scheme of things, but I kind of expected it, right? I'm a little bit picky because I'm going to live here. This is my house, and I need to start off right. The foundation has to be right. It has to be accurate, because if it's not, little minute errors over top of errors kind of compound things, and then at the end there's no way to fix it. So if we can fix things now and make it right and get things as close as we can, like with the foundation being square and measurements being accurate, that's just going to help us in the long run, and it's going to make the rest of the build go a little easier. Thanks for tuning in, and next video will probably be some video on getting forms up and getting the walls poured. We have another inspection to go before that happens, so I'll give you guys the lowdown on that. But yeah, kind of feels like one step forward, two steps back, but once we get through this, then the rest of the build is kind of on me, so I'll be happy about that. This was the one part that I didn't feel comfortable doing, so we hired it out. But thanks for watching. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. It helps the channel out, and follow along with the build. If you're thinking about doing this, hopefully you've picked up some tips up to this point, and moving forward, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more lessons learned. So stay tuned, and thanks for following along.